Amidst the concrete jungle's frantic pulse, the masses lived their mundane, oblivious lives. Lugging heavy bags, our girl grumbled, her arms screaming under the crushing weight. Stress boiled over as she waited. Her date was late and her patience vanished. Plotting his slow, painful demise, she was suddenly yanked by a charming stranger. Apologizing for his boldness, he claimed her eyes were simply too stunning to ignore. He praised her cheerful aura, but she cut his cheesy pickup line short immediately. Claiming she was a devout Taoist, she used the lie to dodge his advances. It was a desperate escape tactic. She bolted before he could utter another word. She skidded to a halt, stumbling right into a truly bizarre, peculiar gathering. The True Love Church was out in force, aggressively hunting for new souls. They spotted her instantly. She jumped from the frying pan into the religious fire. Two ladies swarmed her with free coffee and a very suspicious church invite. Their conversion eyes were hungry, so she scrambled for a way to ditch them. "Jesus is my Lord," she blurted, leaving the stunned ladies questioning her congregation. Refusing to name a church, she fled from those persistent, holy rolling crazies. Running like the devil from holy water, she pondered the world's endless pantheons. From Buddha to Christ, she figured these gods existed for a reason, right? Humans just needed a healthy outlet for their desperate hopes and hidden desires. She knew skeptics were everywhere after all. She'd been a hardcore atheist until recently. Lost in thought, she slammed into another stranger and paused for a deep reflection. Her existence felt pathetic and sad. She realized her cynicism had gone too far. To her, gods were either figments of imagination or just lazy, cosmic slackers. Suddenly, the stranger grabbed her bag, jolting her from thoughts of divine cruelty. Perhaps gods only existed to laugh at human pain. Wait, did she know this guy? "I told you not to wander alone." He nagged, claiming he'd been searching everywhere. "I was shopping." She barked back, furious that he'd forgotten their simple plans. They'd agreed to meet after her class, but this airhead totally drew a blank. He was the one who vanished. Calming down, she demanded to know his whereabouts. While her faith wavered, he casually mentioned he'd been deep in cosmic thought. He was dreaming of Hera, while she felt a divine warmth fill her hands. Excitement lit him up. He found a new clue and wanted to dig deeper tonight. His intensity made her uneasy. She wasn't exactly thrilled for a midnight mystery. Sensing her hesitation, he stole a cheeky kiss that left her face glowing red. "Be excited," he teased, promising to bother her through the entire night. She pouted, complaining that his teasing had already cost her a full night's sleep. Their bickering was cut short by neighborhood Karens scolding their public display. Sighing, she reminded him to keep his godly secrets on the down low. He suggested a private, cozy hideout, and she nodded in shy, blushing agreement. With a beet red face, she walked beside Maud, a boy literally sent from heaven. He was here to crown her as the next legendary god of the sun. Basing his future goddess, he cupped her cheek like she was a priceless treasure. Maud, her divine boyfriend, sealed their fate with a soul-stirring, heart-melting kiss. To any onlooker, it was obvious this couple was anything but ordinary or human. With that single kiss, he made them vanish instantly into thin, magical air. To understand this miracle, we must rewind 2 months to the desperate sanctuary. He barged into the master's room, screaming, but the hungover boss just groaned and cursed the morning sun. The servant nagged about D-Day arriving, only to get a face full of royal pillow for his troubles. "Go away, I'm dying," he whined, dragging his messy, hungover self out of bed with a scowl. Gasping at the toxic breath, the servant wondered how many barrels of wine his master had conquered. "Last night." Even with the stash hidden, the lazy god grumbled, wishing he'd hired a much more submissive servant. He even joked about tossing the boy back to Earth for a little reincarnation rehabilitation. Used to the tantrums, the subordinate just sighed, ignoring his master's dramatic threats with practiced ease. "Bathe now," he insisted. The sun god's big meeting starts in exactly 60 minutes. But the man flatly refused, forcing his servant to switch from polite nagging to full-blown drill. Sergeant screaming. He shrieked about D-Day's importance, but let's be real, his master didn't have a single clue. Finally, the boy dropped the bomb. Today, the Sun King would crown his glorious new heir. The next sun god would reign over paradise for the next 1,000 years of peace. Despite the top-secret news, the lazy boss just shrugged, barely caring about his destiny. He planned to congratulate his brother Vero later, then scavenged for wine, hoping for a better vintage soon. Before he could find a drop, a fiery presence filled the room. The goddess of fire had arrived. Lady Leah materialized with her disciples, demanding that Loka change out of those pathetic rags immediately. The powerful goddess's aura forced them both to their knees in a display of absolute divine authority. She commanded them to rise, calling Loka her child, which left the hungover god completely stunned. 23 years had passed since their last meeting, a mere blink for gods. But a lifetime for mortals? It was long enough for a boy to become a man. Finally standing, Loka immediately started complaining. He yelled that he had zero interest in being the sun god, asking if she even knew him. With a snap of her fingers, magic draped him in royal robes as she shoved him out the door. Today was his brand new beginning, set within a celestial palace that radiated pure, ancient energy. The Roman-inspired architecture hummed with a magical aura that felt both majestic and terrifying. As Leah approached her throne, a mysterious, long-haired man watched from the shadows. He looked dead serious on the stairs while the crowd buzzed with rumors of the two factions. The new and old immortals gathered as the leader coughed, silencing the grand hall with his presence. He greeted his divine family, beaming at Leah by his side as if her presence blessed the day. He tenderly took her hand, and the crowd whispered as they watched this spicy public show of affection. On the sidelines, guests gossiped about how scandalous it was that these two adults weren't married yet. After 100 years of platonic flirting, the younger gods were starting to roll their eyes. Platonic? Yeah, right. They snickered, as the entire assembly began whispering about the couple's true status. Everyone wondered if this massive meeting was just a fancy way to finally announce their royal wedding. It seemed like the only logical reason for such a fuss, until the king finally stepped forward. He slammed his staff down, demanding silence, before announcing the true purpose of their gathering. His reign was ending, and it was finally time to choose the next ruler of their paradise. The shock hit the room like a physical wave, leaving every god staring at him in disbelief. Most assumed the bearded king would simply name his own flesh and blood, Loka, as the heir. But others scoffed, insisting that the Lord had already set his sights on Vero instead. Chaos erupted between the factions over whether the god of candles should truly inherit the sun's throne. Some argued a god of death was unfit, while others pointed out Loka's infamously trashy behavior. A woman screamed, asking why they even consider a low-tier light god who spent years being a disaster. She claimed he completely trashed the dignity of the immortals instead of actually doing his divine job. To her, his pathetic track record made him a joke of a successor, reminding the crowd of his sins. Loka hadn't just sparked a scandal with a mortal dancer. He'd spent 20 years being a total mess. Loka was spiraling into a drunken mess just because he was chosen for reincarnation. Meanwhile, the ambitious master Vero, a former human, had spent 20 grueling years clawing his way into the ranks of the gods. But the old-school immortals loathed his humble roots. Sensing the tension, the sun god demanded silence, summoning both candidates. Loka, the flashy god of light, and Vero, the humble god of candles, stepped forward. The king asked if they understood the drama surrounding them. With grim faces, the two rivals nodded. The sun god sighed, having watched a millennium of petty feuds between the Silver Spoon immortals and the hardworking humans who ascended to join their divine ranks. Suddenly, he dropped a bombshell. The sun god title was finally up for grabs, making Vero's heart race. The human-born gods were ready to riot until the king's voice thundered through the hall. He revealed a shocking twist. He was giving both brothers a fair shot at the throne. The mission? Descend to the mortal realm? The entire heavenly court gasped in pure disbelief. Gods living as mortals? Preposterous. The elders hissed. After all, the mortal world was a dangerous trap. Last time a successor went down there, things went south fast. He actually fell in love. That romantic blunder forced the poor sun god to work another 1,000 years of divine overtime. Ignoring the whispers, the king laid down the law with a mischievous glint in his eye. To claim the throne, these two bachelors had to find one specific woman on Earth. The boys were baffled, but the king remained cool. He reminded them of the divine hierarchy. While he ruled the heavens, it was goddess Leia's blessing that truly gave him his crown. He flashed a charming smile at Leia, who returned a look of pure, celestial sweetness. The future king had to prove he was the perfect partner for a very special lady. She carried the essence of the sun itself, but currently, she was just an ordinary mortal. Vero spoke up, "And what do we do once we find this mystery girl?" The king explained she held the ring of fire, the goddess's symbol, though she had zero clue. A relic of her past immortal life? Vero's eyes sparkled with greed and curiosity. Amidst the chaos, the sun god gestured grandly, making the legendary ring materialize out of thin air. The boys stared awestruck. Loka's expression shifted. He recognized that jewel all too well. Suddenly, a repressed memory hit him like a truck. He had given that ring to someone precious. In his vision, he was blushing like a beet while she giggled, admiring the perfect fit. Back in reality, the crowd was buzzing, and Leia looked pleased with the unfolding drama. The final decree. Whoever awakens the goddess within that mortal girl wins the ultimate prize. Retrieve the ring of fire, and the throne of the sun god is yours. Now, scram! The king commanded, shooing his sons toward the mortal world without delay. His parting advice? Try to look as basic and ungodlike as possible down there. Vero agreed instantly, but Loka stood frozen in a daze until the king barked his name. The boy trembled, dropping to his knees and stammering that he understood the assignment. While packing his divine bags, Loka's subordinate noticed his master looked absolutely soul-crushed. Under his breath, the god of light whispered a single haunting name. Hera. The servant, oblivious to the angst, just rattled on about their high-tech map to the ring. He pulled out a glowing GPS device to pinpoint their destination among the mortals. The target location popped up, the Republic of Korea. Loka's eyes widened in shock. He couldn't shake Hera's face from his mind. He'd find her, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, in a busy office, a girl suddenly sneezed. Ooh, is someone gossiping about me again? Finally, the face of our long-lost heroine is revealed. Back in the skies, Loka had a plan. He visited Hera's grave one last time, tracing the cold stone with a lingering, tragic touch. "We've arrived," he whispered sadly, but his servant ruined the mood. "Sir, wrong grave." The GPS says they aren't there, but the boy screams for him to shut it. His subordinate sighs, offering to leave him alone to wallow in his dramatic brooding. He gazes at the grave again, tracing the stone while praying for a miracle. Luca confesses to the concrete. 23 years of trying to forget her failed miserably. Since she vanished right after his proposal, his only wish was seeing her again. Tears hit the stone as he clutches her photo, his only link to the past. Meanwhile, at the clinic, Miso watches the kids until one boy steals the show. She asks if he's happy, but as Seojin dryly notes it's his therapy time. She sits in a toy-filled room, trapped in an agonizingly awkward silence with the doctor. "How was your day?" the doctor asks. Miso hits her with a classic, "Fine." "It's a total lie." The doctor pivots, asking how many jobs she's juggling now. 2. Miso lies, making the silence in the room even more suffocatingly thick. The doctor is fuming. Miso promised she'd quit at least one of those jobs. Caught. Miso admits to 3, swearing she quit one. Very soon. A heavy sigh follows. The doctor was trying to help, not just nag her. That's why she insisted on these meetings. Miso's work-life balance is a total disaster. It's hurting her nephew, too. A painful truth that hits Miso right in the heart. Scribing in the file, the professional asks if her insomnia is still winning. She nods. Next question. What does she do for fun? Miso has an answer. I watch movies. The doctor is impressed until Miso explains her infinite loop method. She watches them on repeat forever. Concerned, the doctor asks for her favorite titles. A bit shy, Miso admits she's basically a professional student at Hogwarts. Even Middle-earth marathons. Now worried for her sanity, the doctor calls it a day. Miso doesn't need to be asked twice, she's out of there in a heartbeat. She wanders the halls, taking a moment to actually breathe and observe the world. At 23, Miso Lee's life revolves around her little shadow, her nephew, Seo Jin. The poor kid lost his parents at 5. Now they visit this place quarterly. Miso lost hers at 15. Now she's at her sister's grave, sharing life updates. She chats with the urn, reporting that her son is surviving social therapy. She accidentally blurs out that the clinic is actually more worried about her. Too dark, she thinks, quickly pivoting to keep things upbeat for her late sister. Seo Jin asks if that's all, so she mentions he's finally 7 years old. The little savage asks if they traveled this far just for a weather report. Flustered, Miso tells him to say something then if he's so smart. Seo Jin tells his mom that Auntie can't sleep and wears weird social masks. Hey, not in front of your mother. Miso yelps, totally embarrassed by the kid. He just shrugs, they have different vibes. Still, Miso secretly loves his company. She squishes his cheeks until he begs for mercy. He's definitely not normal. Good luck parenting a child with a literal 150 IQ. It's exhausting. Every little mood swing of his is her responsibility. Talk about a heavy burden. Bored, the boy prays for a literal miracle to fall from the sky. This tiny, sensitive soul grabs her hand, leading her down the cemetery stairs. Miso asks about his falling from the sky wish. Seo Jin just looks away. It's nothing, he mutters. Just a desperate plea to the universe. Then, suddenly, a man faceplants right in front of them. Talk about an answer from heaven. Stunned silence filled the air as they gawked at the boy, until Miso finally broke it with a scream. Are you even a guy? She yelled. Seo Jin cheered internally as the mysterious boy struggled to his feet. Seeing him wince, Miso asked if he was hurt. Little did she know this was the divine Loka. Unaware he was a sun god heir, she just watched as he barked out, "Where on earth am I?" He complained loudly about his dad tossing him like trash just to find some random person. Miso eyed the strange boy, trying to figure out how he had literally dropped out of thin air. Were you ... dusting the ceiling? She teased. The literal god looked absolutely insulted by the suggestion. Cleaning? He fumed. He stormed closer, offended that a mere mortal dared speak to him so casually. Miso shivered at his intensity. Exhausted, he roared, "Is there any other mortal around here?" Miso froze, but the guy suddenly went nuts, howling for someone named Hera. Terrified, she grabbed Seo Jin. "He has totally lost his marbles," she whispered, dragging her nephew away to make a quick escape. They bolted for it, but the boy's sharp voice stopped them dead in their tracks. While Seo Jin quivered at the sky man, his aunt put on her best, "I am not scared" face. "Can we help you?" she managed. Loka just stared, asking if they were the only females present. Seo Jin's jaw dropped. "Hey, I am a boy." The kid protested, feeling totally insulted. "I am 7, he barked. Loka realized Miso was his target, but she was already losing her patience. "What is this guy on?" She scoffed, telling Seo Jin they needed to leave this lunatic behind immediately. Suddenly, the god grabbed her shoulder. "Wait, I am not done with you yet, mortal." Seo Jin warned him to watch out, but Loka just stood there, completely clueless about the coming storm. Before he could blink, Miso's fist connected with his face in a glorious, powerful strike. She stood frozen, lip quivering. before wailing in pain because her own hand was absolutely throbbing. "Auntie, are you okay?" Seojin asked. Miso nursed her knuckles while the boy glared at the stranger. "What is your problem?" he yelled at the weirdo. "Why are you harassing my aunt?" Loka's anxiety spiked. He was a god. How is this chaotic mortal scene even real? Finally, his assistant Hajam descended, bowing low. "Forgive my tardiness, great master." Loka explained he had merely crashed into Miso. Hajong beamed, celebrating their incredible luck. They had found Hera's reincarnation. But looking at the messy scene, Hajong's smile quickly faded. "Why is it so chaotic?" he muttered, watching Seojin already dialing 911 on his phone. "Police? There are creeps bothering us." Miso pointed aggressively. "You picked the wrong woman to mess with." She was not letting this slide. "Off to jail, you freaks," she barked, leaving Loka completely dazed. He pictured the elegant Hera, but the woman screaming in front of him was different. This loud-mouthed lady was the goddess? No way. Loka wailed, collapsing in total divine denial. "Where is my beautiful Hera?" he cried as sirens approached. Next stop, the chaotic police station. "She hit me first," Hajong argued desperately, trying to convince the skeptical officers of his innocence. "Do you know who I am?" he blustered. The chief only sighed. "Sir, please just sit down." A sudden, piercing scream made them jump. "I am telling the literal truth," someone shrieked nearby. It was Miso, swearing that a mysterious man had literally fallen from the heavens into the cemetery. "He just started screaming at me," she huffed. Seojin nodded, backing up his aunt's wild story. "He fell from the actual sky," the kid insisted. The officer just stared, clearly not buying it. "Look, nobody else was there when we arrived," the officer sighed. "Your story makes zero sense." Miso shoved her bruised hand in his face. "Does this look like a lie to you? You think I punched a wall for fun? Check the security cameras if you do not believe me." "I did check," the officer replied. "And the footage shows you two were completely alone. The gods were invisible on camera." Miso's jaw dropped in total, utter disbelief at the news. How was this possible? She was not crazy, she had a witness. Something very strange was going on. Her nephew witnessed the madness too. Shaking with disbelief, she gave the chief a piece of her mind. He played the cool guy card, urging her to chill for the sake of her loved ones. The dead ones, specifically. Stumbling out of the station, she questioned her own sanity like a crazy person. Her hand was still throbbing in pain. Turning to Seojin for life advice, the tiny tot dropped a bombshell. "Ghost attack." She scoffed at the idea of spirits. But Seojin was ready with a solid counter-argument. Spirits were real in her novels, right? Meanwhile, Loka and Haejung stalked them like undercover agents. Utterly baffled by the human drama. Suddenly, the god of light started getting impatient. He grilled his lackey about Hera's soul. "Are we sure this is the right address or what?" "Is she really the one?" Haejung nodded frantically, and as they cornered the girl, she definitely had the ring of fire. Loka snatched the tablet away, ready to play boss. No errors found, now he was really suspicious. How could this rude woman be? His legendary past love reincarnated as this. Haejung quickly cut off his existential crisis. She was the target, no doubt. One growl of his name from Loka had the boy shaking. They needed the deets on this girl, pronto. Fast forward to Seojin's school. The morning drop-off was typical, with Miso eyeing the other parents in the chaos. "Have fun, kid," she cheered. He shot back with a stern reminder about pickup time. 6 in the evening sharp, a deadline she was dangerously close to forgetting. Watching him leave, she felt a wave of nostalgia for Harry Potter and simpler times. Back then, she didn't get why the hero's life was such a tragic mess. But after surviving her own real-life horror show, Miso realized something depressing. Her life was actually worse than her favorite novels. Still, she fought tooth and nail. She refused to play the pity card, solely to keep her nephew's world bright. Less tragedy, more smiles? No wonder she escaped into fantasy books every chance she got. Magic always saves the day in books, right? Sadly, Miso didn't have a wand. No magic here, just a bizarre documentary of weird experiences and bad luck. The restaurant was a total madhouse. Orders were flying and the kitchen was screaming. Miso slipped in late, greeted by a boss who immediately yelled out orders for table 8. Grilled fish and anchovies, stat. She jumped into action, ready to serve. The boss's screeching was grating. She daydreamed about serving a knuckle sandwich instead. Violent fantasies had to wait. Those counseling bills for her nephew weren't going to pay. Themselves. The boss spotted the bandages. What happened to your hand, worker bee? Miso played it cool. Just a minor allergy, boss. I'm still your best worker. Internally, she was panicking about her job. That mysterious man was really ruining her week. The fallout from their meeting was a nightmare. Her blood was starting to boil. She peeked into the kitchen for table 8's food. Almost there. The cook shouted. He shoved another tray at her. Table 10 is up in 3 minutes. She wanted to thank him, but wait. That face looked suspiciously familiar. Her brain was buffering until bam. She pointed a finger and yelled, "You're the cemetery boy," she shrieked. Meanwhile, back in the divine luxury of paradise, a girl visited the god who warned her about her father's suspicious mind. People will talk. He teased, but she just wanted him gone already. Master Loka had already ditched them for the mortal world with his navigation system. He was shocked Leah handed over such tech to her boy. The girl explained, the kid might be clueless, but his servants definitely knew the system's secrets. Does the current sun god know? That's the million-dollar question she couldn't answer. She tried to mention Leia's assistance, but he suddenly stood, cutting her off mid-sentence. Tired of the drama, he turned to leave, but she desperately clung to him, confessing her fears. He leaned in, stroking her hair with heart-fluttering gentleness, while she struggled to stop her. Trembling. Fighting for breath, she bit her lip and quickly dodged the question with a nervous smile. Calling it unimportant, she solemnly vowed to crown him as the sun god, no matter the cost. Smirking at her devotion, he closed the gap between them, whispering that they had a deal. Then he claimed her lips. Sign tried to act tough, but she was completely swept away. She melted into that sweet moment, unaware that Vera was secretly plotting his next big move. He had a mission inside that restaurant. Suddenly, Miso's boss exploded, screaming at the top of her lungs. "Are you crazy?" The woman shrieked, looking like a demon as she demanded to know Miso's thoughts. Scolding her in front of the lunch crowd, the boss refused to let the poor girl explain. She ranted that business was already failing ever since a viral YouTuber trashed their reputation online. After the rude service scandal, the boss feared another disaster, forcing a humiliated Miso to apologize. Miso knew the reviews were right. The boss was a legendary cheapskate when it came to food portions. Fuming, the woman barked for her to get back to work, and Miso miserably obeyed. She delivered soju and eggs to a table, but their voices were just a distant blur. Her brain was short-circuiting. What was that mysterious handsome guy doing in a dump like this? Next morning at the cafe, Miso clocked in looking like a zombie with legendary dark circles. She groaned, cursing her soul-crushing life with every step.